Hi, welcome to Bookish Ventures podcast. This is our Writes Bites segment where we give brief writing lessons. Today we have Michael Licastri, screenwriter and ghostwriter, who has written 16 feature-length screenplays. I hope I didn't mess up your name.
You didn't.
Okay, great. So, so today we're talking about movie treatments. Now, people who probably write screenplays and live in Hollywood and stuff probably already know what a treatment is. I honestly don't know much about the industry, the movie industry. So can you just explain what a treatment is?
Okay, a treatment in its most basic form is a breakdown of the characters in a script and the story in paragraph form. A lot of times it is what an executive or their assistant, more often, is going to use to determine whether they actually want to read the whole screenplay or not.
Is it a summary then of the script?
Yeah, in paragraph form, essentially. It's the main story beats of the script. They normally run, anywhere from 3 to 5 pages. Sometimes they're a little bit longer. But definitely the shorter the better. Development people don't like to read. So the least amount of words you can tell your story in is what you want to go with.
So why is it important to have a good treatment?
Because, like I was just saying, that's what somebody who is in the position to do something with your screenplay is going to use to decide whether they actually want to read the whole thing. Movie scripts very rarely get read. The entire thing rarely gets read up front. Mm-hmm. Normally there's coverage involved and a treatment involved and a whole bunch of other paperwork before an executive or even the person working under them decides, I'm going to spend an hour and a half and read an entire 95-page screenplay. So the treatment is the real litmus test that they use to determine, is this story worth my time?
Have you written treatments in the past?
I have.
Okay.
I have. A whole bunch.
So what is that process like?
It's funny because when I freelance with clients, I tell them to essentially kind of give me as much detail as possible, and then we pare down. Really, it's hard to kind of describe because a lot of times somebody will say, and these are easier for me when somebody says, I have a paragraph or I have a sentence or two, and then I'm kind of allowed to build the story from the ground up. It's a little more complicated when somebody says, I have my own idea, and they're trying to get it down on paper. Because a lot of times they make mistakes with the format. Even though you send a sample, like I always send a sample one out. And I say, hey, here's what you need to make this look like. It's a skill. I think it's not the most complicated thing. It does require practice. Like, you can go through an entire screenwriting class and never learn how to write a treatment.
So do you write the treatment after you've already written a screenplay, or do some people write the treatment?
No. It's the other way around. A good treatment for me, when I'm writing a custom script for a client, the treatment is, I always tell people it's like we're building a house, and they're the architect and I'm the contractor. So that treatment allows me to do my job. I have all the character information and all the story information, and then from that I can synthesize a script. So the treatment is the blueprint.
So that's your first avenue into developing a movie, is you start with the treatment then.
Yeah, it's definitely helpful to have that outline.
Mm-hmm.
Once you have that, it's much easier to plug into the actual process of writing the script. Like, I always tell people, if you've done it right, writing a screenplay is hard, but it's part of writing the movie. Breaking the story, getting that outline to where it needs to be, I think is a much harder process.
So this runs contrary to other types of writing, fiction writing, where some writers do not know where the story is going as they are writing. There are many writers, even very successful and highly literary writers, who have no clue where the story is going as they're writing the story. But it sounds like with movies, it's a little bit different. You have to know exactly what's going to happen in that movie before you can actually lay down the script, it sounds like.
If you're like, it's weird. When I first started writing scripts, I would just write and I would kind of see where the story took me. And I mean, this was in high school. When I got to the collegiate level and I actually started taking writing classes, my professor was pretty insistent about not only that we outline, but about why it was important. And now I have found that if I have a really good outline, I write a million times faster. So it really does synthesize the process and makes it go along far more smoothly. It's not like putting together an Agatha Christie book. Like Agatha Christie was notorious for not knowing how her stories were going to end. But screenwriting is a lot of, I've heard people call it writerly math. And it is. You are sort of building something and you need to know sort of in advance how all the puzzle pieces are going to fit together.
Mm-hmm. So what are the elements of a treatment? So it sounds like there's pretty much the synopsis that shares the beginning, middle, and end of the movie. Are there any other elements of a treatment that need to be there as per standard? Okay.
Yeah. Basically 3 parts. The first part is the log line, which is tell me your movie in a sentence. If I'm Steven Spielberg and you run into me on an elevator and we've got 30 seconds and it's literally called the elevator pitch, what is your movie? Give it to me in a sentence or two. So the first thing is the log line. The second thing is the character breakdown, where you're giving me names, ages, slight descriptions in terms of physicality, and any major background things I need to know. And then the third is story breakdown by paragraph. Some people choose to do them by act. I don't personally feel like that's a huge deal. Some people are kind of militant about it. I'm not. But yeah, that's basically the 3 parts of a treatment: are your log line, your character breakdown, and then your synopsis.
And how many pages would you recommend a treatment be?
I would say anywhere from 3 to 5. Honestly, the word count is more helpful, and I found that about 2,500 is a good sort of maximum to sort of hover around. So I would say around 2,500 words.
So aim for about 2,500 words for the treatment entirely, which includes the log line and the character descriptions. Okay. So
yeah.
Where can people access samples of treatments?
I have seen samples online. I've seen a variety of them. Some are far better than others. I would say if you're looking for samples online, collect a few and then find the one that you think works best for you, and then see if you can contact somebody who's kind of knowledgeable and say, hey, does this format look right to you?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a lot of verification. And it's funny because the industry changed. Like even me, I'm a working writer, and I'm constantly finding out that like there are little formatting things that change all the time. And if you don't do them, they will outright just not read your script. Like it's amazing. They're constantly looking for reasons to disqualify. So make sure as much as you can that your format is one that is sort of industry approved. I don't want to go so far as to say there's a standard, but there are definitely things you shouldn't be doing. So find someone who's knowledgeable about that topic. Because not all information on the internet is good, obviously. So,
are there any online online sources or books you would recommend for somebody trying to write a treatment?
I would just honestly Google how to write a treatment and just kind of start from there. For me, that was an on-the-job thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like somebody asked me to do one, and I said, "Can I see a sample?" And they sent it to me, and I just replicated it. So that was something I learned how to do on the job, and I found that format worked for me. But again, there is some subjectivity here. So I would just say Google how to write a treatment or sample film treatments and sort of find one that works for you. Because, again, I've seen a bunch of different examples. Some are, I would say, good, and some are just really off the mark. So there is an element of common sense and research involved here.
Mm-hmm. Are there any books you've read about the movie industry or making a movie in general?
Yeah. How to Make Films for Fun and Profit by Thomas Lennon and Robert Van Garant is a good place to start. There's a whole variety of books on how to make independent films. Of someone, and it's more theory than anything else, but I like his writing, is On Directing by David Mamet. There's a lot of interesting stuff in there about actually the process of directing. But yeah, if you're specifically looking for screenwriting and especially sort of some insight into the industry, How to Write Movies for Fun and Profit is by far the most insightful one I have come across.
What was the title of the David Mamet book again?
On Directing Film.
On Directing Film. Yeah, my ears perked up. I little story. So I was almost practically stalking him at one point. So when I went to graduate school, when I was in graduate school, it was actually Boston College Law School. So David Mamet and his wife, who also stars in a lot of his movies, yes. They used to walk their dogs across the campus like every day at a certain time. And I started following him. Maybe I shouldn't disclose that, but I'm like, oh my God, it's David Mamet. I was so excited. I was so excited.
I'm sure he has way weirder stories. Way weirder stories. From his Speed the Plow days. It was the 80s, Madonna was involved, somebody was doing coke somewhere. No, it's funny, I wrote my senior thesis on Mamet, actually, and how his work impacted the theater. So that's a guy. I own all of his films. I've read a bunch of his plays. As an actor and a director, it's one of the few things on my theatrical bucket list that I haven't either performed or directed a Mamet show yet. But that day will come. I will get there eventually. But easily my top 3 all-time favorite American playwrights. Brilliant writer who's doing a master class, by the way. If you have $90 and some serious free time, David Mamet is doing a master class on how to write.
Oh, for film or plays?
I think it's just, I want to say plays. I feel like it's plays because Sorkin did a screenwriting one. So I want to say it's plays. They do these really grand law dramatic commercials for these things.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really tell you too much about what they're actually doing because they expect you to know who it is and what it is based on the person. So, but with Mamet, it really could be both. I want to say it's playwriting.
Okay. Yeah, there's and now I'm blinking on this author's name, James Patterson. There we go. So this is actually funny. He was apparently offering a master class on writing, and it's funny because if you know how he produces his books, he doesn't really write. He comes up with a plot and works with other people to come up with a plot, and then he has a slew of writers that are actually writing the actual text, and he's just overseeing the process. So I thought that was funny that he would give a master class in writing when he doesn't actually write his books. So
He's too busy doing commercials.
All right. Well, it has been great talking with you, Michael. Thank you so much for your insights into treatments, and we hope to hear more from you.
Absolutely, Lisa. I'd be glad to come back.
All right. Bye.